Now, after logging in, we now want to redirect the user. So scroll to the very top and let's first of all import something from Angular router. So import router from @Angular router. There we go. Now we can use it inside of our constructor as always. Private, there you go, router of type router. Now inside of our login call, we got that right here, right? This login user. Afterwards, we go ahead and call this .router.navigate, and we navigate the user to, we define that in an array, search minus flights, and we don't have to provide any additional parameters. So after logging in, just go ahead, bring the user to search flights. Let's save it like this. And now here in this call, passenger service find passenger, right? This one gets called when we blur the input field. It's potentially possible that we get a 404 error, which makes sense. Just think about that. Imagine the scenario, you go to a page and the first time you write down your email address, you for sure are not registered, right? Because you're here for the first time. So after writing down your email address for the first time, this check passenger method will get called. He will try to find a passenger. He will not find it because you're here for the first time. So we will get a 404, which means not found. But in this scenario, it's totally fine. It's not an error for us because like, oh, you're here for the first time. For sure, we didn't found anything. So if you take a look at the console right now, you would see for the first time you enter your email address and restart the application, you would see an error inside of the console. Let me show that to you. So let me just write down yannick@dev.com. And now when I switch back, the blur event will get called. And you can see 404 error. Hey, I cannot find yannick@dev.com. But this should not be an error because it's totally fine, right? And that 404 error doesn't really make sense here. So we can just ignore it in that specific case. So inside of that subscribe call, so right after this login, let's check if we received any errors. So let's go. Error goes to function console.log error. And what we can do is, or we can not cancel log, we can cancel error. That makes more sense. We can log that error here, but only if it's not of type 404. So if e.status is not 404, then we want to log it. And if it's 404, we will for sure ignore it that way. So let's go ahead and run our application. Now, when I'm here, let me re-enter some information, yannick@dev.com, and you can see that it says still 404, but that's the default error and it might be gone once redeployed for production. But the more detailed error, which is giving really a lot of information to users, that one is gone and got removed by our code. So that's fine. Now, let me fill out that one here. And let's see what happens once we click on main. And let's see what happens once we click on login. You can see we got redirected and even logged in. Log in the user with email Yannick. Now again, let me switch to /passenger, register passenger. And now let me write down, ignore that favicon error here. Let me write down the email again, yannick@dev.com. And now let me switch to first name. You can see that we automatically got logged in because he recognized yannick@dev.com, right? So that's a very great way to create some really reactive applications, right? So you hook into some cool input events, for example, and then run some code to make the life of yourself and your users way easier. Now, right now, we only get to that register passenger page when we really enter the URL. So let's go ahead and adjust that so that it's automatically showing to us once we start the application. Now go into your new go into the component book flight, that book flight component right here. And inside here, in the ng on init, we want to go ahead and redirect the user if he's not signed in. But for that, we for sure need our auth service. So let's go ahead and get it here, auth service from auth service. There we go. Now take it inside of the constructor, private auth or auth service, that's fine, auth service. And now we can go ahead and in ng on init, so once the component is initialized, we check if this auth service dot current user is null. So pay attention here, right? this all service current user does not exist. Then we want to go ahead and call this router.navigate to /register minus passenger. So see, book flight. Okay, so this will only take place once we click on booking a flight. That's fine. Now let's take a look at the application again. When we visit it, so in our search flights, and we click on search, and now we click on book, right? American Airlines, let's click on book. You can see that we now have to sign in, and I already did, right? So yannick@dev.com, and now when it asks me and I click to first name, he will see, oh yeah, yannick.dev.com is existing, and he will automatically redirect me to search flights. So you can see that we now have to make some adjustments for sure, right? So we should not get redirected to the search flights again, because now I again have to book, and now I can do that, right? So we need to fix it a little bit to keep the user flow the correct way, but at least we have our passenger registration page now implemented.